and common themes. The number of times you see around the world depictions in different societies of half human, half reptile entities. This is obviously in Asia. And the depiction of the interaction between reptilian entities and humans, and part human, part something else. The gargoyles on the churches built by these secret societies, like the Knights Templar, and on the castles and mansions of the elite bloodlines, they are symbolically these entities. So many of the coats of arms of these bloodlines carry reptilian themes. The whole logo of the City of London, or Babylondon as I call it, because it's one of the great central focuses of control, not only through finance either, is a reptilian, holding the red cross and the white background of the Knights Templar, one of the major secret societies in this network. One of the key points in London, for this conspiracy anyway, where the City of London meets Temple, or Temple Bar, or the Temple region, which is the legal profession and courts, is this flying reptile on a pedestal right in the middle of the road. They put these things everywhere. Now, there's another common theme, this is all over the world, of reptilian-type entities eating humans. There's so many of them, it's unbelievable. This is Central American, as the previous one was. Here's some more, and often they'll put a crown on the top, because this is the royal bloodline. This is where the divine right to rule comes from, or the idea of it. It's the belief that you have the right to rule because of your genetic descendants from these gods, the divine right to rule. There again, a similar one. Here's other ones, and logos and coats of arms and what have you. And there's Alfa Romeo, the same, and of course the red cross and the white background of the Knights Templar. You see this reptilian theme coming up a lot in entertainment, because these bloodlines and their networks control Hollywood, and they control the entertainment industry in general. This is an advert, a Nike advert, where this American footballer was depicted as reptilian, and the theme of it was, because of that, he was better than anybody else. And at the end of the Thriller video, when Michael Jackson turned around, they were reptilian eyes. They could have been lots of different eyes, but they were reptilian. And this happens because of what I said earlier. All these different things are worshipping the same basic force, and thus this symbolism of this force appears in all these different areas, not just these, also banking and politics and stuff. Now, a lot of these bloodlines are Satanists. In fact, the major ones are all Satanists. And by that I mean they are into human sacrifice, human blood drinking, and all that other stuff, sacrifice of children. And it's been going on way back. And people have no problem with the fact that it was going, oh yeah, those ancients used to do that, and the Aztecs and all that stuff. But they can't expand that perception of the possible that it's still going on. It is massively going on. The fact is it was openly going on then it became unacceptable to the population in general, and it's gone on secretly ever since. And what I've talked to a lot of Satanists, former Satanists, and I guess former Satanists, who've told me common themes about what goes on in these rituals. And you know, these entities are feeding off human energy. And one of the things that they do is when they're sacrificing somebody, the people with invisible light, the Satanists and the bloodlines, they'll drink the blood, because when the terror reaches a certain point in the ritual, a certain adrenaline goes in the blood, which gives these people a high. I mean, sick is not the word. But on another level, an energetic level, the entities are feeding off the energy coming off of terror and fear of the sacrifice. And the other thing that they tell me happens in these rituals is they create an energetic environment, like a stepping stone energy environment, where these entities can come through and manifest, not for long, but for a while. Common themes. Now, this is David Berkowitz. He went to jail for the Son of Sam serial killings in New York. And after he was jailed, he said, he corresponded with a Christian minister, and he said, yeah, I did it, but I did it as part of a satanic coven, a satanic cult that arranged it all for me, and I was just the guy who did it. And he said at one point in this correspondence, Satanists are peculiar people. They aren't ignorant peasants or semi-literate natives. Rather, their ranks are filled with doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and basically highly responsible citizens. They are not a careless group or are apt to make mistakes, but they are secretive and bonded together by a common need and desire to mete out havoc on society. It was Aleister Crowley who said, I want blasphemy, murder, rape, revolution, anything bad. What does that do? It pulls that energy that they feed off, but it also pulls people into low vibrational states of awareness. And the two major colors of Satanism, for frequency reasons, are black. Black is the absence of light and absorbs light in all frequencies, and red, which is the lowest, longest frequency color. And there you see red and black dominating royal protocol, along with gold, which is another color they use, Satanists, in this ritual that goes on. And I saw this. I had to go back to the original BBC coverage and watch the video to make sure this wasn't a Photoshop job, and it wasn't. This is at the royal wedding with William, and there's a satanic symbol on the back of this bloody clergyman meeting the Queen, a reverse pentagram. I mean, it's bloody ridiculous, but it's not when you realize that the religions are just public expressions of a much deeper and more horrific inner core. I mean, look at Christianity. Its very focus of attention is someone being tortured. What are you doing? A focus on that. And that, for reasons I'll come to, has an effect on people and the wider reality. And you have the Eucharist in the Roman Church. And what are they doing? They're eating the flesh and drinking the blood. That's just a publicly acceptable version of what goes on the inside, literally. I mean, what is it when you reduce your deity to the level of a biscuit? I mean, is it me? I mean, if you're going to do that, I'll at least make it a bloody hobnob. That's what I say. Because they're good for dipping. There you go, he's getting in the spirit of it now, look. You know it makes sense. So, this is the key to understand so much. Also, politics, banking, media ownership and stuff, in the end, worships that. This is a quote from a Swiss banker in the Russian magazine Novy Den in 2011. These people are corrupt, talking of the bankers. They're sick in their minds, so sick they're full of vices, and those vices are kept under wraps on their orders. Many are into Satanism. When you go into some banks, you see these Satanistic symbols, like in the Rothschild Bank in Zurich. These people are controlled by blackmail because of the weaknesses they have. They have to follow orders or they will be exposed, they will be destroyed, even killed. This pervades society. What do you see from the banking industry? Total lack of empathy with the victims of their actions. And so, when I've, over the years, investigated and followed through major people involved in pushing the direction of the world, I have found three absolutely repeating themes with them. One, secret societies. Two, Satanism. Three, very topical at the moment, pedophilia. And they connect together in reasons I'll come to. Now, this is Bohemian Grove in Northern California, where the high and mighty elite in politics, banking and business and all the rest of it in America and wider afield go to this summer camp at Bohemian Grove in Northern California, and they worship under a 40-foot stone owl, symbolic of an ancient deity called Moloch, and they do sacrifices and stuff in smaller areas in this great area of Bohemian Grove, 2,700 acres of redwood forest, and all these people like the Bushes and the Clinton and the Rockefellers and all this Kissinger and all these people go along, and people come from abroad as well. And we're seeing Satanism more and more pushed and infiltrated into human society to become more and more acceptable. This Lady Bloody Gaga, crikey, her mother must have been psychic, pushing the old, Satanism, blood stuff. And, I'm not saying, Annie Lennox is into all this stuff, but what I'm saying is that the ceremonies of at the Olympics, the opening and closing ceremonies and stuff, was if you know what you're looking for, it's incredibly satanic in its symbolism, some of which I'll get to. Then you've got this Twilight series. Let's make vampires kind of sexy now. Then you have the Harry Potter thing. I mean, one of the Harry Potter books was called The Half-Blood Prince. Spot on, that's what it's about. And Slytherin House and all this stuff. And all this esoteric occult stuff going into the young mind on a massive level. This is all done on purpose. And what are we coming up to it now? Halloween, when I was a kid, just passed you by. Now it's this great festival where they're bringing kids into it. Oh, it's Halloween, trick and treat, all that stuff. And they're making it a kind of mini bloody Christmas. And it's pulling people in. If people only realized that at this time, particularly, and at Beltane across May the 1st, staggering numbers of children on this planet are being sacrificed by these people and others around the world. That's the real meaning of Halloween and Beltane, not trick or treat. And this whole energy stuff very much connects into Satanism. Because, as I mentioned, these entities outside of human sight, they feed off human energy. It's one of their power sources. But it's a particular human energy. It's a very simple frequency physics situation. If you are within a certain frequency band yourself, you are only going to absorb energy within that frequency band. Anything outside that frequency band is going to go through you like radio stations go through radio stations. Thus, you need to generate energy within a frequency band that you can absorb. What is the frequency band in human terms of these entities? Low vibrational human emotion around the basic state of fear. And so they're generating human fear, anxiety, frustration, anger, hatred, all of it, because it's generating the energy that they absorb, their life force in so many ways. In the Matrix, they had the machines symbolically feeding off human energy. That's what these entities do. And thus, if you go back to the Dr. Emoto stuff with the crystals in the water, the crystals with words of love written on the side of the water before they were frozen are beautiful, geometrical, beautiful to the eye. That energy is unabsorbable by these entities. It's on a frequency they simply cannot sync with because of their state of being. This is what they want. They want this energy. And thus they have created and structured human society to become a factory, an engine room, a generator of this energy. A war is a banquet to these people because of all the energy that's created by those doing it, those receiving it, and the impacts on lives as a result of it. And look at the way the human society is devastated in terms of its balance, its harmony, its joy, by reasons for low vibrational, distorted emotional responses. And this is a key reason why humans were manipulated from a heart society to a emotional gut reaction society. Because there, nothing served for dinner, darlings. Here, much as you like. And people think that human energy is not important. There are sensors around the world that are picking up changes in the Earth's energy field. This is what happened on 9/11 as a result of humanity's response to what it was witnessing. And that is the power that collective humanity has on the human energy field. If you can manipulate humans into a negative response, understandably, to things like 9/11, you massively impact on the vibrational energetic state of the Earth's energy field, and it's the energy sea that we are living in all the time. If you want to get to all the fish at the same time, what do? You get to the sea, and then you get all the fish. And the energy sea that we are living in all the time is what they're targeting all the time. And so when we react to their heartless corruption and oppression in this way, going to get into this seriously in the last part today, then we are actually giving them what they want. Because we are reacting in ways that are generating more of the energy on which they feed. This is a Native American, American concept story. That in each of us there are two wolves they talk about. One wolf is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other wolf is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. Which wins? The Native Americans say the one you feed the most. Now, I'm not saying humans are perfect and do not have the capacity for that. But what the Gnostics talk about in their writings is that what the archontic force is doing is taking minor error and it is distorting it and expanding it into massive violations of these emotions and massive expansions and extremes of these emotions. So this is what they are trying to generate with their mind parasite modus operandi, etc., in humans, because that's their life force. They are energetic vultures. The Matrix had this concept with Morpheus and the battery. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this. Symbolically, that is absolutely the case. And George Carlin said this interestingly. Did you ever stop to think about all the people we kill? They're always the people who tell us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John Lennon. They all said, try to live peacefully together. Bam, right in the head. Apparently we're not ready for that. Oh, we're ready for it. But that which is manipulating us does not want us to have it. There was an Australian document came to light a few years ago. I printed it in full in a book called Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, which appears to come from quite a high-level Australian Satanist who wrote this before he died. And it was not a confession so much as this is what's going on, this is how it is. And he talked about many things, but he also talked about the fact that what Satanism does is it constantly targets the Earth's energy field at specific points to repeatedly do rituals there which lower the vibration of the Earth's energy field. Again, the sea that we're interacting with to push us down into the same low vibrational state. This is what he said in the document. Most people do not realize that Satanism is a ritually based practice and that this repetition has, over time, left strong impressions upon the morphic field, the energy field, the sea that I talk about. Now, this is massively, massively important. It's going to take us into some really weird and wonderful places. The language of symbolism. Why are these symbols, recurring symbols that I'm going to go through, why are they all around us? Well, I'm going to get to the point of why, and it's very deep in the rabbit hole that we go in here. But what are symbols? This is why it's so vital to understand at least the basics of the nature of reality to understand the conspiracy. Confucius said, signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor laws, nor... So why? This is why. A symbol is, again, a symbol in the holographic world. Bring it down to its basic state. It is a vibrational information field. A symbol communicates information to the brain through the eyes in the same way as the ear communicates audible visual words and sound to the brain as an information field. The difference is that when you hear something, at least you're aware of its existence. It is conscious. When a symbol talks to us through the eyes to the brain, it is subliminal. Therefore, symbols are planting information fields and vibrational states into the human subconscious, which then come through to influence conscious perception and conscious behavior. Also, if a symbol represents something, whatever it is, if you focus your attention on that symbol, you are making an energetic connection with what that symbol represents, because what it represents and the symbol, as I'll come to, will be the same frequency field. And thus, symbolism is one of the greatest ways that we are mentally and emotionally manipulated and encoded and perceptionally manipulated. There's a great saying, it's true. Energy flows where attention goes. Somebody said to me, other people have had this experience, they said they were in a restaurant, sitting at the table, and they said, I felt like two eyes were sticking in me back. And he said, I turned around, and there's this person at this other table behind them staring at them. Now, of course, they weren't feeling two eyes sticking in their back. What they were feeling energetically, which eventually filtered through to the holographic level of feeling, was the attention of the person staring at them. Energy flows where attention goes. So thus, if you can hijack someone's attention, collectively or individually, you are hijacking their energy and their life force. Energy flows where attention goes. Now, in the Olympics, I heard British athlete after British athlete during the London Olympics that was successful, saying that they got this amazing energetic surge from the crowd. This is why people doing sport among their own supporters have a great advantage, because as these athletes were competing in the London Games, overwhelmingly watched by British people, the focus of attention, willing them to win, was making an energetic connection to these people and thus energizing them. Energy flows where attention goes, but it goes the other way. And if you get a crowd of people focusing on symbols of the conspiracy and symbols representing these entities without us knowing, then that crowd, whether it's the Queen or whatever, are making an energetic attention connection to those entities. Thus, their energy can be trawled. A crowd can have fantastic energy. You go to a football match, with a great excitement. And what do people say? Honestly, mate, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It was amazing. What was that? Electromagnetic energy generated by the crowd. That's what these people absorb. Same with the Vatican, with these great crowds which focus on the bloody Pope and the ritual and the symbols. Same with the symbol-infested bloody entertainment industry these days, of people like Madonna. And when you get people like focusing on a religious symbol, look at the bloody energy that would create and be able to be trawled. And when you get and focus like 5 days a week. I'm not having to go at one religion. I mean, they're all the same to me, and I respect people's right to believe what they want to believe, but I have my right to believe what I want to believe as well. That's the deal. And when you're focusing your attention like that, energy flows where attention goes. And thus, you have these secret societies that are also involved in energy trawling. And that brings me to this, which also goes into this, for reasons I'll come to. That Satanist in Australia talked about the abuse of children and what have you. And what is happening, and the reason for it, is that these entities operating outside of human sight, we'll call them archontic, they feed off human energy, yes, but there's a particular energy they want more than anything else, and that's the energy of children before puberty. We see puberty here as a hormonal change. You go back to the base construct And it is a vibrational change which holographically expresses itself as hormonal change. These entities want that energy before the energy change happens. Therefore, they want the energy of prepubescent children. And how do they get it? They, through genetic reasons, because there's a lot of genetic pedophilia, but also through energy, what am I saying sorry to you? Well, you exist. You're part of all that exists. Of course I'll say sorry to you. Sorry, mate. You're all right. I'm sure you'll see things from another angle eventually. But anyway, what I was saying, yes, they also energetically stimulate the desire for sex with children. Because what they're doing with the pedophilia is they're using the pedophile as the conduit to draw off the life force of the child. And that's why you find, as my research has shown over the years, a far higher ratio of pedophilia to these so-called elite levels in Satanism than you find in the general population. This is what a Central American shaman called Don Juan Matus said in a book by Carlos Castaneda some years ago. Sorcerers see infant human beings as strange luminous balls of energy, covered from the top to the bottom with a glowing coat, something like a coat of plastic adjusted tightly around a cocoon of energy. The glowing coat of awareness is what the predators consume, and when a human reached adulthood, all that is left in that fringe of awareness is a narrow fringe that goes from the ground to the top of the toes. That fringe permits mankind to keep on living, but only barely. So like I say, they're using the pedophile as the conduit to draw off the child's life force. That's what pedophilia is about, and that's why it's so prevalent, and that's why it's so incredibly prevalent in the institutional bloodline levels of society. And this Australian Satanist said, politicians, massive Satanism in politics around the world, politicians are introduced by a carefully graded set of criteria and situations that enable them to accept that their victims will be our little secret. Young children sexually abused, molested rather, and physically abused by politicians worldwide are quickly used as sacrifices. In Australia, the bodies are hardly ever discovered, for Australia is still a wilderness. In the other parts of the world, they control the crematoria and the great burial grounds around the world as well. And so I was not in the least bit surprised about him, because I was told about him in the late 1990s that he was into massive pedophilia and necrophilia, sex with dead bodies, which has just come out this week through a guy who talked about it on the radio. And the reason that Jimmy Savile, this entertainer who died in 2011, the reason he got away with it was because he was a procurer of children for the rich and famous. And he was very, very close to the British royal family. In fact, in his own words, he was introduced to the royal family by Lord Louis Mountbatten, who some researchers have connected to paedophilia in places like the King Cora Children's Home in Belfast. Edward Heath, the Prime Minister 70-74, who took us into the what is now the European Union, I named him as not just a paedophile, but a Satanist and serial child killer 7 years before he died. And he did nothing about it, because it's true. This guy, Thomas Hamilton, the killer of the children in Dunblane in 1996, he was a procurer of children for the rich and famous. That's why he was protected for so long. And that's why, in the official inquiry into what he did, some of the documents were put under lock and key, never to be seen, it was said, for 100 bloody years. Even a former head of Freemasons in Scotland, Lord Burton, said the Dunblane inquiry was a cover-up and that he was bullied when he tried to question it. And this very week, 2 days ago, an MP raised in the House of Commons a question about paedophilia rings out of number 10. I've been naming this guy, the President of the United States, Father George Bush, as a paedophile and child killer since the 1990s. Said it in radio, said it on the BBC, didn't make the podcast, mind, but I've been saying it for years. It almost came out in this story in 1989, but then was put on hold and suppressed. And of course, the Roman Church, which is an expression of these bloodlines going way back, Church of Babylon relocated, is infamous for paedophilia. This is the reason why. That's why you see naked children all over the Vatican when you go around. And what are demons doing in a sporting event ceremony around kids in hospital beds? Can you explain that to me? I thought that was bloody weird. What is the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang bloody doing in a sporting event opening ceremony? I tell you, it was alive with symbolism, that was. And I've been saying for years that these bloodlines drink the blood of children to rejuvenate themselves, and that's one major reason why they live so long. Queen Mother, 102. Prince Philip in his 90s. David Rockefeller, 97. Henry Kissinger, almost in his 90s. They live for so long. One reason is they get different treatment to us, but this is another. And this came out only the other day, that they've now found the amazing discovery, shaman in the ancient world have known it for thousands of years, that transfusions of young blood appear to rejuvenate the elderly. That's why they live for so long. Common themes. The eye. I'm going to whip through these now because we've still got a lot to get through in this section because of the way that this information fits together. The eye, the all-seeing eye, the single eye or the pyramid of an eye is a major symbol of these bloodlines going way back, and that's why it appears everywhere in all these institutions. The eye of Ra or Horus. It was on the hand on the necklace of the mysteries of Credo Mutua in the Zulu world. This was found in 1984 in Ecuador. By miners, I think, digging for gold. There's the eye, there's 13 levels, and this is thousands of years old. And when you put it under ultraviolet light, it even glows luminous from the eye. Where is it today? There it is, on the dollar bill in the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States, and there are 13 levels. This is the constant recurring themes that I'm talking about, because the same force is behind all these apparently different organizations and institutions. There it is in Freemasonry. There it is with the pyramid as the logo of MI5. There it is in the building, basically, of MI6. In the Olympic ceremony, or one of them, you had the building of the pyramid, and then the almost homage bloody worship of it immediately afterwards. This is a Roman Catholic bloody church. Look at it. Because, why? The same thing. In the Olympics, you had the pyramid floodlights, and also the eyes in the mascots. And somebody put this together, and put that and that and that together, and said, you know, what's going on? Well, what's going on is the same force controls all these apparently different institutions, and thus they use the same symbols. They control the entertainment industry, and thus that's not a bloody diamond, that's a bloody pyramid. Jay-Z. There you are, Madonna, she comes up a lot. Angelina Jolie, there's Lady Gaga, the eye of CBS. This is Gravity Falls, it's a Disney animated bloody program. There he is, there he is, there he is. What's this doing in an animated program? Because they put their symbols in front of us. The other thing you find is the number of pictures of celebrities where they have a hand over an eye. I'm not saying they all know. I mean, the photographer might say, oh, be a good picture, put your hand over your eye. But the number of them emphasizing one eye is unbelievable. These are just a few. I mean, what is it with that? Another common theme, fire. The archons and the jinn were said to be from luminous fire and made of smokeless fire. One of the great symbols of these bloodlines is the phoenix, the firebird. And the light that Freemasons talk about is not the light that other people talk about. One of the great symbols of the bloodlines and the network is the lighted torch or the flame. And thus, at the closing ceremony of the Olympics in London, you had the massive emphasis on the phoenix because of the symbolism it represented. This is Manly P. Hall, a Freemasonic historian. I think he got to the 32nd degree of Freemasonry, in a book called Secret of All Ages, in which he's saying the eagle is actually just a publicly acceptable phoenix. European mysticism was not dead at the time of the United States of America was founded. The hand of the mysteries controlled in the establishment of the new government for the signature of the mysteries may still be seen on the Great Seal of the United States of America. Careful analysis of the seal discloses a massive occult and Masonic symbols, chief among them the so-called American eagle. The American eagle upon the Great Seal is but a conventionalized phoenix. And so many stories you read about demonic entities manifesting in rituals talk about them manifesting through fire. And fire is just a frequency. That's all it is. This is from a BBC documentary. This guy lights this newspaper simply from energy through his hands. It's just a frequency. And the frequency on other dimensions might not be the same as the one here. And in terms of fire and focus, with the Olympic flame going around all over Britain, the focus on that flame on an electromagnetic level is giving energy to that energy field till it becomes a massive energy field. This flame going around is not an Olympic tradition. It was brought in by the Nazis in 1936. And so that focus would have created a massive energy field on the electromagnetic level. And it was brought to the opening ceremony. And fire ritual relates to the god Baal, Molech, the one they worship in Bohemian Grove, Nimrod, Babylon, and the Roman god Saturn is going to become very, very important shortly. And the satanic ritual calendar has a particular day of July the 27th, the date of the Olympics of opening ceremony in London. July 20th, 26th, abduction, ceremonial preparation, and holding of a sacrificial victim for grand climax. July 27th, grand climax, a day for sacrificing female adults and children. It was a massive, for whatever reason, massive satanic day when that happened. And 1 billion people were focused on this, and that is what happened on 9/11. That focus would have allowed massive absorption of energy as a result of the